Stop motion is quite simple. In this series, I'm going to be teaching you how to make stop motion animation films from your own home. In this first video, I'll touch on the history of stop motion and how stop motion works. Feel free to skip to the chapters that you feel is most suitable for you. And just before we get started, I would like to mention that you do not need any fancy equipment or advanced skill to start stop motion animating today. In this series, I just want to show you the simplest way to make it with whatever you have in your own home. And trust me, I won an International Film Award only using my phone and some scrap cardboard I found from my trash can. I'm not even kidding. So if I can do it, you can do it too. Let's go back in time. The very first stop motion film was produced in 1898, which is titled The Humpty Dumpty Circus. That was directed by J. Stuart Blackton and Albert E. Smith. And ever since then, stop motion animation has developed and became more popular over time. And in my childhood, I grew up with Shaun the Sheep, Wallace and Gromit, and also one of my favorite animation films is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Stop motion animating is all about splitting a set of movement into individual frames. So that means if we take, for example, like a person walking, how we animate it is we split every second or every time there's a different movement of the person walking. So basically, when he lifts a leg, we will split that into an individual frame. So if we were stop motion animating, we would basically draw every frame until we get a whole walking cycle. And I'll show you a example of a walking cycle later. There's like a whole thing behind it with like a bunch of math and shit, but let's not get into it. Let's make it really simple. There's one way of calculating like the distance between each frame. I guess the simplest way is taking the total distance you want the object to move in the scene and divide it by the total frames of the project, which is usually 24 frames per second. For example, if you want a guy to walk 12 inches in the screen or in that scene, then you take 12 and then you divide by the 24 frames and you get yourself 0.5 inches per frame. What that means is that every time, in every frame you take a photo, you will move the object 0.5 inches to the left or right, or whichever way the object is moving. And you'll do that for every frame until you want to end the scene. I hope that made sense. If it didn't make sense, please leave your questions in the comment and I'll try my best to answer. Let's be honest, here's a secret. Never done any math for any of my stop motion film. And for some of you guys might be so excited for that. But also, if you want to do the math, go ahead. I just can't do math anyway, so like it's really no point for me. But after a bit of experimenting, like you can always just eyeball it. Like you get used to it and you know how fast you want the object to move, then you eyeball it. And of course, there's also two types of animations. The first one being a stop motion animation that has movement, but the object doesn't move around the scene. It's like this. Basically, it's a movement but that's stationary. Or the second type, where the object moves around the screen, so the object is actually moving around the screen and not stationary. When I say two types of animation, I meant two types of movement in animation. I mean, you could come up with another one if you could. I don't know if that's possible, but from what I know, two types. Now let's get into prop making. Let's take an example from a stop motion animation I am working on right now, and I'll release that when I'm finished as well, so stay tuned. Let's look at this scene that I just completed. It's a bit rough for now, but I think it's good that we can break down this scene. Like for example, the background, I used clay and cardboard to shape the mountains, sky, and also the grass. For the tree, it was more complex, where I used wire. I cut up individual wires and then twisted it to make the tree root and branches. And finally, to top it off, I also used a bit more clay to cover the excessive wire and make the shape of leaves. Now, I'm not expecting you guys to have such a complex setting like this one, especially if you're just starting out. I'll show you a video right now of what my set was like in my very first video, or my first stop motion animation. It was super simple, and that was also one that I made to get an award, but all I used was cardboard and a bit of paint. So it can be really simple or it can be really complex. I just wanted to show you an example of what a stop motion set could look like. Now getting to the animation process, we're going to start by opening the Stop Motion Studio app. This is a free app that you can download on any mobile devices. And after you open it, press on New Project. At the bottom it says how many photos you've taken. Now we're going to click on the camera button top right corner. And at the left of your screen, you'll see a slide bar. Moving the slide bar up and down will change the opacity of the onion screen. The onion screen is a tool that lets us see the previous frame we just took. So to start, I'm going to use my fox example again. Now I made 3 different foxes, each representing a different movement. Now you might be asking how I decided what movement to capture. And if you want a more in-depth explanation of like, oh, how do I know which one I'm going to draw for each frame, then check out my next video I'm going to release soon, and that'll go more in detail, and I'll show you a step-by-step tutorial. So that'll be like one-on-one timing basically. So it's going to be a long video. So when I put the 3 foxes together, it will create a walking cycle. So I label each fox 1, 2, 3 on the back, so I know which one to place at what time. So to start off, we're going to take the first fox and then press the red button to capture. Now you're just taking your first frame. Take the first fox away, and now you notice a faint image of the first fox. Now that is the onion screen working. If you don't see it, then try adjusting the slide bar up or down. I forgot which one, but I believe if you move it up a bit, you can see a faint image. Now for the second fox, place it on the same level as the first fox, but place it slightly more to the right. So keep in mind, we're trying to make a walking cycle, right? So you want him to be walking like as if he's on the ground. So try not to like have him like floating for the second one. Try to keep it level as the first one, and then take the photo when you're ready. And then repeat the same process for a third fox. And just like that, a walking cycle is already beginning. So now let's make the fox run off the screen. To do that, we're just going to repeat the same process each time, moving the fox slightly to the right until the fox is fully off the screen. Now if we play back, we should get a pretty smooth animation. Alright, that's all for today. The next video, I'm going to show you a step-in-step process of making a stop-motion film, from the story writing, storyboarding, prop making, filmmaking, and also editing. So it'll be a more in-depth video. It'll probably be a series, and it's like everything you need to know. I'll literally give you an idea to make a film, and you can make it along with me. So it's like a tutorial basically. And also please subscribe so I can reach my goal of reaching 1,000 followers by Christmas. And that will be my Christmas present and from you guys. And I'll be having my Christmas spirit ready for that 1,000 followers. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.